सुरतवर्धनं शोकनाशनं स्वरितवेणुना सुष्ठुचुम्बितम् स्वरितवेणुना सुष्ठुचुम्बितम् स्वरितवेणुना सुष्ठुचुम्बितम् इतररागवे स्मरणं नृणाम् इतररागवे स्मरणं नृणाम् इतररागवे स्मरणं नृणाम् इतरवीरनादे धरामृतम् वितरवीरनः ते धरामृतम् वितरवीरनः ते धरामृतम्
Hare Krishna, we would like to welcome His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu once again amongst us. I requested Prabhuji to please find time from a busy schedule so that we can finish the Gopi Gita section. So, there was time for 3 days in his schedule, so he is here. He is also going to give some corporate seminars. So we'll have 3 mornings for the Gopi Gita, what is remaining. That section will finish from here onwards. So let us welcome His Grace Chaitanya Charan Prabhu amongst all of us by once chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Krishna Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram. I did not realize that I have a class to give at Kunji Vihari Temple now at 8 o'clock, so I'll have to leave, but I'll try to attend online and finish.
Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanishalaakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishnaprashtaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Desha Tarine Vancha Kalpatarubhyascha कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. I'm grateful to be here with all of you today, and I'm especially grateful for the opportunity to be able to complete this Gopi Gita series. So we'll just do a quick recap of what was going on, and then we'll move towards the verses. We have 6 verses to complete, and hopefully we should be able to complete in 2 or 3 days. We're taking 2 or 3 verses each day. So, am I audible clearly enough? Okay. So right now we are focusing on understanding the okay, so this is not working. So in the Gopi Gita, this comes in the 10th canto, in what is often considered to be the heart of the 10th canto. That is chapters 29 to 33, which are the Rasa Panchadhyay, within which this is chapter 31. So here Krishna has called the gopis, and the gopis have left everything and come to him. And after they come to him, there is some sweet interaction between them, and the Rasa dance is about to begin, or it begins, and then Krishna disappears. Oh, what happened? It had come before, no? It's saying it's connected. Okay. So, Krishna has departed from the gopis, suddenly disappeared without any explanation. If we come to meet someone and we are talking with them, and while talking with them, suddenly they leave. You know, we wonder what happened. The Kannada Prabhu had to go. He explained why he was going. Isn't it? So, we come specifically to meet somebody, and we are talking with them, and suddenly they disappear. Now, what happened? Normally, the natural human inference would be, broadly there are 2 inferences. Either that person is a terrible person, or that person considers us to be a terrible person. Isn't it? Why would somebody do like that? How could they go away like that? So the gopis are trying to figure out why Krishna left like this. And of course, for them, more than figuring out why Krishna left, they are begging Krishna to come back. So while the prayers themselves can be analyzed in many different ways, we talked about the flow in a particular section can be linear. That one verse leads to another verse. This is generally, we talk about the Gita's flow as linear flow. How does this verse lead to that verse? Now that's one way to understand it. But here, another way to understand this is that the flow is not linear, but it is one-pointed. That means each verse is bringing us back to the point, please return. Each gopi in her own way is praying to Krishna, please return. Now sometimes that request is explicit, where they say, Krishna, please come back. But many times it is implicit. That it is something which is stated without being stated. So generally when 2 people have a close relationship and they have a good mutual understanding of each other, then there's a lot that can be said by having little said, isn't it? So that means sometimes if somebody has come late, we had invited them to our home for food and they have come late. Now we might be annoyed with them, but we don't want to express the annoyance openly. So we may say, the food has become cold. And then if they say, can't you heat it? Can't you get it? That would be our thought. So sometimes in loving communication, sometimes things are conveyed directly and explicitly, and sometimes they're conveyed a little more indirectly. And because of the loving bond between the two people, they understand it. So the particular verse we are discussing is continuing the flow of the various ways in which the gopis are begging to Krishna to come back. So one of the key themes is that not only are they saying, please return, they are also saying in various ways, your leaving is unfair. So that your leaving is unfair, we saw this mood earlier when Krishna, you saved us from so many dangers. Vishajala Pyayad Vyala Rakshasad. You who saved us from so many dangers, now why are you killing us now? That Nignato, how can you kill us, O Lord? You have come to deliver the entire world. That Nakhalu Gopika Nandano Bhavan Akhila Dehinam Antaratmadruk Vikhanasarthito Vishwaguptaye. You have come to protect the whole world. And we are a part of the world. Why are you not protecting us? Sakha Ude Ivan Satvatam Kule. So like that, they are in various ways beseeching Krishna, please return. And as a part of their request, now they are comparing how Krishna is giving fortune or blessings to someone and how he is not giving blessings to them. And thus they are asking for his blessings. So here they are comparing it to their fortune, they are comparing with the fortune of the flute. And this is the text 13. So, Surata Vardhanam Shokanashanam. And they're saying, they're basically glorifying how Krishna is bestowing his mercy through his lips. Sorry? 14? Yes, sorry. Good point. Thank you. 13 you have completed, correct. So the 14th verse. So Surata Vardhanam Shokanashanam. So in one sense, they are saying that the power of the flute song, that generally music and song are very strongly associated with emotion. And recently I was in America. I think I mentioned this incident, but it's the second time. I went to a college for a talk, and the name of that college was the American Institute of Illusion. So my typical mind thought, America itself is an institute of illusion. But basically, it is like we have the Film and Training Institute. Like it is basically for creating movies. It's filmmaking institute. So there, interestingly, I saw that one of the things that they had training is in Bollywood dancing. So what it is, Bollywood, a particular kind of dancing. And, we know Kathakali, we know Bharatnatyam. So it's Bollywood, a particular kind of dancing. So the idea is that it is only generally in Indian movies that suddenly in the middle of a movie, without any rhyme or logic, people start dancing. In Western movies, there is a genre of movies called musicals, where there is a lot of music and dancing. But normal movies, they don't have this sudden sudden dancing and singing apparently for no reason. That person, the hero or the heroine, may have no musical inclination or ability the rest of the movie. But suddenly they start dancing. But anyway, the thing is that music and singing and dancing, these are naturally very strongly associated with emotions. So for the gopis, the flute song is very closely related with their hearts. They'll talk specifically about the flute song again a couple of verses later. But here, what they are saying is that the effect of the flute song is twofold. That Surat Vardhanam. So the love, the joy, the romantic attraction, that is the typical characteristic of Madhurya Rasa. That love increases. Vardhanam. It's the word Vardhanam is not just increasing. It is increasing, but increase can just be a natural phenomena. That the grass grows. Whereas if we have a red rose garden, then it doesn't just grow, it has to be grown. So Vardhanam indicates that conscious effort at nurturing and growing. So wild weeds may just grow, but our children, we need to take care of them, we need to raise them. Vardhanam. So Surata Vardhanam. So this, just hearing the flute sound causes the love and the attraction in the hearts of the gopis to increase. So Surata Vardhanam. And the result of that is Shokanashanam. The lamentation that is there in their heart, that decreases. Now, the shoka that the gopis are talking about is the shoka of separation from Krishna. In the spiritual world, there is no duality like the duality in the material world. But still there is duality of another kind. The duality there is more of union and separation from Krishna. And it is that duality that is the defining duality. Here we have the duality of seasons, heat and cold, summer and winter. In Vrindavan, it described that Yogamaya arranges all the seasons to be manifest as per whatever will enhance Krishna's pastimes the most. So when Krishna goes into the forest, sometimes in the same forest of Vrindavan, in different places, there will be different seasons. Or rather, there will be different flowers and fruits according to different seasons. So that duality is not very prominent. But the duality that is prominent is of love and union and separation. And the gopis, whenever they hear Krishna's flute, they know that their separation is about to end. That either Krishna is coming out of his home on his way to the forest, and then the gopis go to the terraces of their homes and behold from there, taking in Krishna's beauty with their eyes. And then, when they hear Krishna's flute, they know that Krishna is returning in the evenings. And especially, Krishna has a separate flute each for the gopas, for the cows, and for the gopis. When Krishna plays their special flute, then they know Krishna is calling us. And that is especially what Surata Vardhanam. That especially increases their attraction for Krishna. So, just like, if we have a very affectionate relationship with someone, most of us when we are growing up, we had a legal name, but at home we have some name, or we have some nickname, or some affectionate way people call us. So, if there is some name that is typically used only by one person, now as soon as that name is uttered, it reminds us of that person. So it's like this special name that is used only for you, only by this person. So like that, Krishna has a special flute just for the gopis. And that flute, when they hear the sound of that flute, what happens is Suratavardhanam. So their attraction for Krishna increases. And in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, which is further elaborated in Ujjvala Neelamani, there is both places the concept of Uddipan. Uddipan is a spiritual stimulus. Just like we can have a sensory stimulus. For an alcoholic, if they pass by they are going to important boardroom meeting, but they pass by a table and they see some bottles. And then they go to the meeting and they're looking at their boss, and that Uddipan is so strong that they're looking at their boss and their boss's body changes into the bottle of an alcohol. So the idea is, Uddipan is the original spiritual. What is sensory stimuli are the material equivalent. So for the gopis, the flute of Krishna, and especially the flute song, is an Uddipan. Now it's interesting with respect to flute, there is flute and then there is generic flute music. You can play the flute or you can say flute sound. The flute sound is itself very sweet. But then there is the flute song. That means when we use the flute to musically articulate a particular song, to accompany a particular song. So Krishna not only makes a very beautiful sound with the flute, but he also has a beautiful song. So they are saying over here, Krishna, this just increases our longing for you so much. So Suratavardhanam Shokanashanam. And then when they're describing it this way, so if you look at the verse, how it is flowing is that first they're talking about the effect on them. This is our state, O Lord. And then Swarita Venuna Shushtu Chumbitam. So Swara is we're singing Venuna, using the Venu, using the flute, what you're singing, Shushtu Chumbitam. And so they are conceiving that while Krishna is playing the flute, they are conceiving as if Krishna is expressing his love, his affection, showering his love on the flute by kissing. So this is the vision of love, wherein we start seeing the expressions of love of our object of love in various things. Shushtu Chumbitam. And then they are saying that what is the specific distinctive characteristic of this particular song? There are many things which we may be attracted to in the world. We may like some food, we may like some TV show, we may like some sports. And when we see that, that stimulates us and that excites us. And then whatever boredom or apathy or distress is there, that goes away because of the excitement. That is true, but the gopis are saying, among various stimuli that might be there, this stimuli is unique. Because this is the only stimulus which makes us forget all other stimuli. Itara raga vismaranam runam. The same theme comes towards the end of the Bhagavatam also, when it says, Yad rasamritruptasya nanyatra syadrate kvachet. That yad rasamritruptasya. If we can become satisfied, if we can taste this nectar and become satisfied with this nectar, then once we get that taste, nanyatra syadrate kvachet, there will no longer be taste for anything else. Yam labdhva chaparam labham manyate nadhikam dataha. Once having gained this, one will not think that there is any other greater gain. So that no other greater gain. Here, itara raga vismaranam runam. So we know there is 15.15 in the Bhagavad Gita which talks about mattaha smritir jnanam apohanam cha. So Vismaranam is like Apohanam, Vismriti. So in one sense, all remembrance, knowledge and forgetfulness come from Krishna. At the same time, this knowledge, forgetfulness and remembrance. All of these, they come, Krishna may give any of these to us, but the starting process is our desire. Based on what we desire. If we desire to be serious in our bhakti, then when we encounter sense objects, Krishna will give us the forgetfulness of the pleasure of the sense objects. And Krishna will give us the remembrance of the higher taste that awaits us in bhakti. And then he will give us the knowledge by which we can turn away from the sense objects and move towards Krishna. However, if we are entertaining the desire to enjoy worldly pleasures, now the desires themselves might be there, but if we are desiring to enjoy them, having desires is not the problem. Krishna says, just the presence of desires, that is just biological. Shaknoti haiva yah sodhum prak sharir vimokshanat. He says, as long as we have the body, the desires will be there. But from the presence of desires to entertaining of desires. Okay, these come, they stay, and they will go away. But when you start entertaining those desires, Krishna talks about this in 270 when he says, Kama Kami. Kama Kami. That desire is coming and we desire the desire. And Krishna says, if you want to be peaceful, na kama kami. Do not be a desirer of desire. So this means that based on our desires, Krishna reciprocates. So if we maintain a strong desire for Krishna, then we may be amid the world's temptations, but itar rag vismaranam runam. So we will also experience to some degree the forgetting of the other cravings, the other pleasures. So this entertaining of desires, that's not biological. That is a psychological choice that we make. So for us, we are also encountering various devotional stimuli. We are beholding the darshan, we are hearing the katha. But the challenge is that our desire for Krishna is either not strong enough or not sustainable enough. It's strong right now, but it doesn't remain strong thereafter. So, but the gopis, it's very strong. It says, Krishna, we just forget everything else. And the implication is, Krishna, now that you have called us here with your flute song, now that you have brought us here by calling us, we cannot be satisfied with anything else. Krishna, please return. Please return. So they say, Vitarviranas te dharamrutam. So Vitarviranas, please come and distribute that adharamrutam, the same nectar that you are blessing the flute with, please bless us also with that same nectar. And that way, the gopis are in multiple ways making the same request. So Krishna, you bless the flute, and the flute actually didn't do much for you. The flute just came with you. You know, we came on our own to you. We put in effort and we came to you. If you can bless that flute who did nothing, then we who have done so much, please bless us also. So in the next verse, they will explain how much they have done for Krishna. See, that comes in the next verse. Before this, they will talk about Vismaranam Murunam. Talk about how intense their longing is for Krishna. So generally, when there is affection, when there is emotion, when there is love, we can talk about two things. There's the strength of emotion, and there is the strength of action or the effort. How strongly we feel about something and how much effort we are ready to put to do something. So, if somebody says, I love you. Okay, wonderful. Come and meet my parents. No, no, that is your job. You persuade them. I'm not going to meet them. You know, you have to win your parents and then I'll talk with them. No, if you really, what effort are you ready to put in? So, how strong is the emotion of someone that we can understand also through the way they speak. You know, when somebody really cares for someone, then as soon as they start speaking, you know, their eyes light up, their face becomes animated, they just seem to come alive. So we can see it from their expressions, we can also see it from their words. The tone of their words, the content of their words. So the gopis are talking about their love, so they will talk in the 15th and 16th verse about Krishna itara raga vismaranam runam. He has forgotten everything else. We are longing only for you. Suratavardhanam. So in the next verse they will talk about how strong is their longing for Krishna. How fervently they feel that Krishna must be there. So what time do we stop normally? 7? 1:45. 8, okay, sure. So let's recite only once while meditating on this, and then I'll explain the next verse, then we'll recite the next verse once.
Suratavardhanam Shokanashanam Swaritaveenuna Soshthujambitam Itararagave Smaranam Drenam Vitaraviranaha Te Dharamritam
So here they are saying, Atati yad bhavan ahanikananam. Atati means to travel. Yad bhavan. They're referring to Krishna in a respectful second person, not Tvam but Bhavan. Ahanikananam. So Aharnisha is day and night. So Ahani is at the start of the day. So Kadamba Kanana we say. That Kanana is basically the forest. So at the start of the day, when you go to the forest, Truti Yugayate. So Truti is a very small unit of time. Yugayate. It feels like a millennia. It feels unlimitedly long. That's how they're expressing their longing. Why does it feel so long? Tvam apashyatam. Because we can no longer behold you. And then Krishna may say, but every morning, every evening you do get to see me. So that longing is fulfilled. I say, no, even then the relief is interrupted. Kutilla kuntalam Shri Mukham chate. They are describing that your beautiful face, Shri Mukham, encircled by locks of hair. Finally, when we get to see it, what happens? Jada udikshatam. Jada is foolish. Udikshatam pakshmakrudrasham. So, udiksha is to see. So there's a lot of emphasis on seeing over in this verse. Apashyatam was there. Then udikshatam. Iksha. Again the eyes are there. And then, so we were eager to see, desperate to see, pakshmakrit. So the lids, aksha is eyes, pakshma is that which covers the eyes. Pakshmakrit drusham. So they're saying that the eyes are covered by lids. And now here the gopis are feeling strong emotions, and yet there is a certain etiquette. So because of which, they are restrained and yet they are strong. So they are angry with the one who made the eyelids, by which they can't behold Krishna continuously. But because that person is a venerable, respectable person, so they don't name that person. So, Jada Udikshata. Who forgot to do this? Now, everybody knows who's the person responsible. But if you want to not name that person out of respect or etiquette, we just express it without naming. Who is the fool who did not do this? Such a foolish person did not do this. Who did not do this? So, Jada Udikshata. So, in love, what happens is that sometimes not mentioning the name of the person enhances the flavor. So, for example, if we are talking with a person and a third person is present and the third person has given some suggestion, and he says, some very wise person told me that this is how I should act. And then we will look at that person will smile at us, we will smile at them. So, it's like sometimes not referring to a person is also an expression, not referring to the person by name, indirectly reference, it's a matter of either etiquette or it's a matter of affection. So in this case, what is it? It's etiquette, there's no affection. In fact, there is anger, but there's somewhat restrained anger that is there. So let's sing this once.
Atati yad bhavan ahanikananam Troti yogayate tvamapashyatam Kutilakuntalam Shrimukham chate Jadaudikshataam pakshmakridrisham
When there is affection, when there is love, when such emotion is there, often the emotion needs to be expressed. So with respect to emotion, there are three different things. At an inward level, it needs to be experienced. Then it needs to be expressed. So experience is for ourselves. Expression is for others. And then sometimes it is exhibited. Now exhibited is for the world. So exhibiting of emotions, that is often unfavorable to bhakti, wherein we make a show of the emotions. Making a show, that is exhibition. Sometimes people may think that when we go out and sing and dance in kirtan on the streets, we are exhibiting our emotions. And yes, that is an understandable inference at one level, because we are going out in public. However, our purpose is not just to make a show of our emotions. Our purpose is to share our spirituality with others. And that is what our Lord has told us. That is what our tradition does. So it is not that when we are on the streets, we are going to go into paroxysms of ecstasy and start trembling and start rolling on the ground and start having tears coming from our eyes. That would be exhibitionist. So what would be an exhibition would be considered different by different traditions or cultures. So in certain cultures, public display of affections, what is it called? PDA? PDA, okay. That is frowned upon. And somebody who does that will be considered exhibitionist. On the other hand, in certain cultures, that might just be the norm. And somebody who does not do that will be considered very cold. So it varies from situation to situation, from context to context. So the point is that expression of affection has different ways. So generally in a loving relationship, first of all, the emotion, in one sense, the most important thing is to experience the emotion. So when there are moments, sometimes during our chanting or during our reading or hearing or praying or taking darshan, we may find that we experience something higher. We experience something very deep, something which is so extraordinary. Like what we said, we get a little glimpse of itara raga vismaranam runam. We get a little glimpse where we experience something which makes us forget everything else. So in one sense, if we consider with respect to devotion, what is relatively in our control and what is not in our control. So, what do you think among these three things? Is exhibiting in our control? Yes. So, exhibiting is something which is in our control and we should not do this. Okay? Then, is experiencing in our control? Okay. Okay. What about, we'll come back to that. Let's see. What about expressing? Well, you may say that if I am not experiencing anything, how can I express anything? But that is the dynamic of bhakti. We can say rather than thinking of something as in our control, something not in our control, we could say it's a spectrum. So here we have more control, here we have less control. So in one sense, expressing in terms of trying to do as prayerfully as is possible for us. Say when we are reciting prayers while taking darshan or when we are singing some songs. Those songs are expressing our devotion and we can express it with as much attention or devotion as we can someone. So in one sense, expressing, it is undesirable. It's undesirable? No, it is not undesirable. It is desirable, in fact it is essential. Now, experiencing is also to some extent in our control, but it may not be fully in our control. Sometimes we may not experience anything. So, emotion, especially with respect to devotion can grow in two ways. The vardhanam of devotion can happen sometimes outside in and sometimes inside out. So, outside in means by expressing, we move towards experiencing. So, we don't feel like taking darshan, we don't feel like dancing in kirtans. But by doing it, by expressing, we start experiencing. Krishna says, Tasmatvam indriyanya adav. For most of us, the inner world is much more difficult to control. The outer actions are relatively easier. So when we have a certain discipline, by which we do a certain set of activities to express our devotion, gradually through that expressing, the experiencing will happen. Now inside out is where there is experiencing, and from the experiencing what happens? There is expressing. So among the great saints about whom we read, say in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, who are filled with overwhelming emotions for the Lord. And when the Lord darshan opens, they become so ecstatic that they just faint in ecstasy. And out of fainting in ecstasy, they fall down. Now, we may not faint, but we can still fall down. We can still offer our obeisances. So, for us, the expressing generally comes first, the experiencing comes gradually. Now, when we talk about cultivation of emotions, bhakti is anushilanam. So, anushilanam is basically the expression is through action. The experience is through attention. Now, of course, while expressing also we need to be attentive. But the expression is more external. The experience is more internal. So, generally speaking, when we start with the outside, we can gradually start moving inward over time. So, here, when the gopis are trying to express Krishna, how much we are longing for you. So, they are expressing their longing by giving some metaphors, some comparisons, some pointers. See, emotions are actually intangible. With all our scientific advancement today, with all our technological advancement, we don't have anything like a painometer. Isn't it? Oh, how much pain are you in? Oh, I'm in great pain, doctor. No, I don't think so. What do you mean you don't think so? I'm in pain. No, it's like you cannot quantify pain. Now we can say on a scale of 1 to 10, a doctor may ask how much pain you are feeling. And somebody 10,000. So we can't really quantify pain. It is something subtle. It is something which cannot be mathematically measured. And that's why, although there's so much advancement of science, when people ask often, what is the need for spirituality and bhakti and all these things in today's world, when there is so much scientific advancement. So actually, if you consider, if this is the world of science, and then this is the world we live in. The world of science is actually quite different from the world we live in. So this is the area where science may create some comforts, or it may lead to some problems, whatever it is. Nothing is a complete blessing or a complete curse in this world. But pain, joy, see, everybody likes to eat good food. And food processing industry is such a big industry. But there is no such thing as a tastometer. When a product is made, okay, just run it through the machine and it will taste it and tell how good it is. AI also cannot taste. No matter what we do. It can give us an exhaustive description of what are the ingredients of a food item. So not only that, nowadays relationships are so unstable for people. Say, whenever somebody is entering into a relationship, they are worried how long will this relationship last, how serious is this person about a relationship. So if a boy proposes to a girl, please marry me. The girl says, wait a minute, I have got a love-o-meter, let me put it on your heart. And see, how much do you really care for me? How much do you love me? So there is no such thing as a love-o-meter. Isn't it? And love is what everyone is longing for. Even if we may say that most of the time what is called love is lust. But there is not even a lustometer also. Isn't it? Even if that gets distracted. Now, we can look at some physical symptoms. But they are indicative. They don't really measure it. The point is, there is a whole universe of reality that is beyond what science talks about. And this is where art and poetry and ultimately spirituality come in. So, ultimately bhakti spirituality is about emotions. And emotions are beyond the domain of science. So, emotions need to be expressed in appropriate ways. So here, the gopis are trying to express that which is not measurable. And they are trying to give some indication of that. And what do they say over here? Krishna, every day when you come out of your home, we get to see you, but then you depart. Atati yad bhavan ahanikananam. You go to the forest, and at that time, every moment, truti yugayate, one moment starts feeling unbearably, intolerably, unlivably long. It starts feeling like a millennium. Where did the similar expression come up? In Chaitanya Shiksha Ashtakam. What is it? Yugayitam nimeshena. So, the word yuga is used in the Shastras sometimes specifically to refer to a particular duration of time, or sometimes it is used generically to refer to a very long duration of time. So here when there's Truti Yuga Yate, is this Yuga referred to Kali Yuga or Sat Yuga, that duration, or Divya Yuga? That is immaterial. Like sometimes in the ordinary language also we say, millennia ago this happened. Now millennia, means there's 1 millennium, 2 millennium, 10 millennium, 50 millennium, doesn't matter. It's very long time ago. So here they are saying Truti Yugayate. So they are trying to give an expression of their emotion by saying, Krishna, that that we just can't bear this separation. When we can't see you, it is one moment that feels like a millennium. So I remember in our early days, I was introduced in 1996. That time technology was very little there. We used to have tape recorders and cassettes. And cassettes were also a little expensive. We were students. So Krishnanand Prabhu, he would have a lot of cassettes of Radhanath Maharaj lectures, Prabhupada lectures, and he would give to those who were serious. So I came to know. And I asked, and I said, can you give me some lectures of Maharaj? He says, why do you want them? So I said, Prabhu, our exams are over now, the vacation is there, I have a good amount of time. He said, I asked him, can you give me about 10-15 classes, 10-15 cassettes? He said, I'll give you 5 classes. He said, why? He said, because you gave the wrong reason. He says, what you should have said is, without hearing Maharaj's lectures, my life is lost. I am in the darkness of ignorance. Please. So, I gave a very functional reason. I have time now. So, sometimes we need to express our emotion, isn't it? So, can I start preaching over here? Why? Actually, now my workload in the office is less, so I have some time. It's good. It is good in the sense that we are not wasting our time. But, if you say that, every time I read Prabhupada's books, I feel Prabhupada wants us to share Krishna's message. And for so long, I was caught in so many other things that I was not able to. And now, at last, I have some opportunity. I'm longing to please Srila Prabhupada, please Krishna. Now, that gives a completely different dimension to what we are saying. So, the gopis are expressing their emotion by saying what? That Truti Yugayate, that one moment is like a millennia. Tvam apashyatam. And then what is it that they're saying? That also they're describing very beautifully. Kutila kuntalam shri mukham chate. See, sometimes some compliments are given indirectly or passingly. And sometimes those are more touching. Like if there's a forum where somebody's birthday is there or somebody is special occasion is there, that time we praise and glorify that person. Now that is what is expected at that time. But somebody was just speaking about something else. He says, so yesterday, so recently, whenever I have had some research questions, I've asked Hari Bhakti Prabhu and he's done such brilliant research. impressed by how well he does research and answers questions. And now, if I speak something like this, if I am glorifying him directly, but if I, that's appreciation. But when something is, it's like something else is being spoken, but then this goes on. The point is that there is appreciation so much in the background, it just comes off. It's not something which is intentionally spoken. So that has a special effect. So generally, now relationships work differently in different times. But in general, direct glorification of a person could be flattery, could even be etiquette. That's what I'm expected to do. But indirectly, while something else is being spoken, at that time we appreciate someone. That means that it's quite likely that that is heartfelt. Ultimately, we can't know what is in the heart. We can only infer. But my point is, here they're saying, what is it that we are separated from? They are not devoting the entire verse to glorify Krishna's beauty. But they are saying, Kutilla kuntalam Shri Mukham Chate. Krishna, your face is so beautiful, and then your hair are encircling that beautiful face. And when we can't see it, we just feel like 1 millennia is gone for every moment. And then Krishna may say that, but you do get to see it. Every evening I come back. And they say, no. Even at that time, what happens is, jada, our eyelids blink. Our eyes blink, our eyelids close, and we just can't behold you. We want to, see, there is this, in English there is this word, behold, which is a poetic word. See is just with the eyes, but behold is actually related to the hold. But it's hold through the eyes and hold in the heart. So we are meant to behold the Lord and then hold the Lord in our heart. So they say, when we behold you at that time, what happens is that the eyes blink. And when the eyes blink, then we can't see you. And now this itself indicates the intensity of their emotion, that they want to see Krishna constantly. Just can't bear even one moment. Most of the times when our eyes blink, we don't even notice it. It just happens mechanically, but their desire is so great that they just can't bear it. So once I was many years ago, probably it was the 2011 World Cup or something like that. So I was 2015 probably. So I was in the airport, and I came out of the Mumbai airport, and somehow at that time, maybe things were not that orderly or whatever. That's when you came out of the airport, there was a TV. And there was a cricket match being displayed over there. And we were coming out, and people were watching the match, and we wanted to go, and they were not ready to let us go only. Now, the another way was like a long way other side. I said, wait, the action is going on, wait. Now, it was like, okay, I was waiting. And then, see, among various games, cricket is the game which has a lot of inactivity or uninteresting activity. Isn't it? It is that in football, the ball is constantly going from here to there to there. But in cricket, especially the fast bowler is bowling, the bowler is going back, and it takes some time. And then the bowler comes back. So what happens is, there is no other game anywhere in the world that goes for 5 days. But anyway, so cricket is a lot that is not very interesting. But these people, they were so attached. How the bowler is walking back, they want to see the bowler also. The bowler is rubbing the ball against the thigh, they want to see that also. So when they're just not ready to let me go. Initially I was annoyed, but just before that I had been to a place where I had been speaking on the Gopi Gita, and it struck me, this is that what the gopis say, blinking of eyelids. So like that same intense attachment is coming, that one moment of action I don't want to miss. So this is a reflection. And that reflection gives us some indication of the intensity of the emotion that is there in the gopis. So they say, Jada udikshatam. So it's like they might blame someone who is walking by. But the gopis are blaming who created these eyelids. That these eyelids blink and we just can't. We can't behold Krishna. And so again through this expression, they are conveying the desperate intensity of their longing. Krishna, we want to see you. Please come back. You raised our hopes and expectations by calling us, by playing the flute. And then, after raising our hopes and expectations, suddenly you brought them crashing down. Now, if somebody tells us, there is a grand feast today after the program, and they make a lot of announcements about that, and then we come for the program and say, today is a fasting day. It's almost cruel to raise expectations and then smash the expectations. If there are no expectations, then okay, there's no disappointment also. So the gopis are saying through this, Krishna, how much agony are we in? Please don't cause us such pain. Please return. In this way, the gopis call Krishna back. So I'll summarize what we discussed today. We discussed mainly verses 14 and 15. And two broad themes we discussed. In the 14th verse, it was about the flute. So the gopis were saying that basically underlying theme is please return. How is it unfair? So the flute is getting so much mercy that you are singing song, you are offering your lips to the flute. Please, so much mercy to the flute. Just a little mercy to us. Please, Krishna, return. And in that section we discussed about how when there are various ways in which when there is love, when the love is expressed through our joy in what we get and our lament when that goes away. Suratavardhanam shokanashanam. That is there for all spiritual stimuli. But the love for Krishna is such that it makes us forget everything else. So that's what we all want by increasing our longing for Krishna. So we discuss na kama kami. So if we increase our desire for Krishna, then Krishna will give us forgetfulness of the worldly pleasures. And then we talked about, from this verse, they are expressing their longing, intensity of feeling in the next verse, and then they will talk about the action in the verse after that. The intensity of emotion. So we talked about emotion. It can be experienced, then it can be expressed, and then it can be exhibited. So if we consider in terms of control, so exhibition we don't want to do, expression we want, experience we especially want. So in terms of control, this is most controllable for us, this is least controllable for us. So sometimes devotion works inside out. From experience we move towards expression, and sometimes outside in. From expression we move towards experience. And then we talked about how, because all emotions, they are non-measurable, they are non-mathematical, they are actually beyond the domain of science. So therefore, they have to be conveyed through poetry, art, metaphor. All these are to be used. So the gopis use two indications over there, talk about their love. One is the relativity of time. And one moment seems unbearable. And then we talk about how they offer a passing compliment, which is especially endearing. And then they talk about the perception of the obstacle. That perception of interruption, that itself is indication of their love. So for all of us, we can also try to express and experience devotion, and gradually the experience will become more and more enriching for us. Any one question does anyone have?
What should be the mood while doing Nritya?
Doing?
Nritya, dancing.
What should be the mood? I'm not sure whether it's like a should is there, it's like a range. Hmm? Rather than thinking there's like one particular mood. It's each one of us is an individual. And we have our individual relationship with Krishna. We have our individual way of connecting with Krishna. So the range would be that we try to, at the lowest level, we avoid being exhibitionistic. Exhibitionistic means that, like somebody would, as a kirtan starts, if the circle is going, they want to be in the center all the time. Isn't it? So, now, that's not so much in the mood of service. As some devotees, exhibitionistic, and they can also become. Now, ecstasy is good, but sometimes ecstatic can become. What is the word for it? Not as athletic, it can become unmindful. You're singing and you're raising your hands, and you don't even know when the hands go out and you're hitting someone, So we want to be ecstatic, but we don't want to be unmindful. We don't want to be careless or hurtful for others. And yes, what you said is also true about being, in some ways, it's the kirtan and the dance is about Krishna. It's for Krishna's pleasure. So you could say at the best level, it's just like a graceful outpouring of our emotion. Now, some people may be naturally graceful dancers. Some people may not be very graceful dancers. So, from the material perspective, the beauty or the competence of our expression may vary depending on the natural ability or talent or training that we have. That we can't control. Now, everybody can recite verses, everybody can, to some extent, sing songs, but not everybody can sing it equally well. So we shouldn't worry too much about the material competence. But as much as possible, we try to be graceful. And it is more a, Krishna, you have given me this body, you have given me the ability to dance, and I'm dancing for your pleasure. So ultimately, our emotion is that it is for your pleasure, O Lord. But even if we don't feel that it is for your pleasure, okay, we get some pleasure in it. It's not that we are not meant to get any pleasure. But at the very least, our pleasure should not be the cause of others' displeasure. Isn't it? So it's like, it's our pleasure is there, others' pleasure is there, and Krishna's pleasure is there. Now, Krishna's pleasure is the most important, but bhakti is, in one sense, it's a social or a community expression of devotion, especially kirtan. Okay. Thank you very much. Shri Gopi Gita ki jai, Shri Krishna Bhagavan ki, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Jai Gaur Premanande.